Wait, you mean to tell me that these actual action figures here are only $1.25 and they shoot projectiles? Some toy companies need to be taking notes, I think. Hey toy fans, so I'm here with a final faction find here. So I came across these the other day, and I've gotten the rest of the pieces for Final Faction. I just haven't gotten through all the reviews yet, so you had to kind of be patient with me as I'm working through them. But what I found was these perimeter defense pieces. Now, these are now hitting the shelves, and I gotta tell you, I'm quite impressed so far. We've got an Alpha Team 1 X4 Turrent. It's a perimeter defense item. It's like a drone, I guess you would say. Then, of course, we've got the Karn perimeter defense Huntra, and then another Karn perimeter defense Decimator. And they fire projectiles. I cannot wait to start checking these out because I have a feeling that these are going to be incredible. Now, before we get in that review, if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe now. Go ahead and click that like button down below. Be sure to comment, because I like commenting back with y'all, and hit that bell for notifications so that way you can be updated for anything that comes from me to you. Now, let's take a look at these. Now, I'm going to start with the Alpha Team here. So, this is the X4 Turret, and it's, of course, Alpha Team 1 Final Faction. And they come on almost the same type of cards that we get with the action figures. I believe they're a little bit smaller. Yeah, no, they're actually the same size. So they come on the same size cards, and actually, I mean, they look like they're probably the same size as the action figures, just shaped a little bit differently. Now, each one, as far as the actual toy, comes on a bubble, and they've got a couple projectiles, except one has only one projectile, but it has quite a bit more plastic than the others. Looks like they got limbs and turrets and some artwork there behind it. Of course, we know this is Alpha Team. Heading to the back. Out of this series, we get 3 pieces: X4 Turret, Decimator, and the Huntra. And then, of course, it's got some stats up here for attack, power, range, mobility, durability, that sort of thing. So, for all my math whizzes out there that like to play and know what their attack is going to cause, that's for you. Let's take a look at one of the Karns here. Now, this is the Huntra, and the Huntra, much like the X4 Turret, has got 2 projectiles, and this is another one of their Karn drones. Except, if you look at that, it's almost like a bug. I like buggy things. This is pretty cool, and of course comes on that Karn purple, with kind of Karn purple background with green and everything, so it's very, very cool. Heading to the back. We get pretty much the same thing, but we get new stats up here for this particular drone, which is the Huntra, versus the X4 over here. And then lastly, we got that Decimator right there. It's a very cool looking drone. This one only comes with 1 projectile, but the projectile looks it's the same, almost the same as these. We'll compare them when we get them all out. But it also looks like it's probably a little bit bigger. It feels a little bit heavier than the other one. Going to the back, we get the same thing, but a new file card for the Decimator. Now, that's the toys on card, and they're not going to tell us anything else about this. We need to get these off and get to playing. Alright, now this is them outside of the package, and I have to admit, these are great. Now, I know we started with this one first, but I want to end with this one. And first, take a look at this one. Now, this is the Huntra. And I love the look of this thing. It's very buggy. It's got, you know, these weird things. They're sculpted beautifully well. And, you know, this rotates all the way around. And then you've got 2 legs here that... Oops, I just shot that projectile out. You've got 2 legs here that rotate back and forth. So it's got 1, 2, 3 points of articulation. And then, of course, it has the firing mechanism, which is really cool. Now, one of the things I noticed is that a couple times, like, these don't always want to stay in. It's very sensitive on its firing, and it actually has it to where it'll seat either sideways here or up and down. I found one launcher on one works really well with it up and down, one works really well with it to the side, so I think it kind of jiggles around. But that's the Huntra, like right there. That's such a cool looking bug monster. I could see army building with these very, very easily. I'll find that projectile here a little bit. Okay, so we got this one. Now this is the Decimator. Now, Decimator has 4 points of articulation. It's got, of course, that turning head that turns all the way around. It does have a firing mechanism, and much like the other, it can either go in this way or up and down. And this one seems to hold pretty well. It's got some really good design work in here. This has a bit of a sharp edge on this, so that's something I would say you might want to be concerned about if you have young kids. I can see someone scratching on that. But it's got these 2 arms that fold one into the other. And they look like ball sockets, but they're not ball sockets. They actually have these little pins on the end here. And that kind of just pops into place. Now these particular arms, they tend to pop out a lot, so I guess if you were wanting to blow these up, you could probably do that. But I have a feeling after a while, those pins are going to wear down. Now this back leg is just kind of it just rotates a little bit, but it doesn't really turn too much. So the articulation on this one is a little off. Now, I saved this one as my last because this is one of my favorites out of this part of the series. This has 4 points of articulation, and of course a rotating turret, which I just shot another missile off. This turret rotates all the way around. It does have a firing mechanism on both of these, and each one of the legs folds out, so you could fold it all the way down. You could fold it all the way up. You could do some walking things with it. I mean, there's so much. I love this. This one is my favorite, and it reminds me a lot of some of the walkers that we got from, what was it, like the last Metal Gear game, or one of them looks like some of the Metal Gear pieces. And I dig the look of this. Drone wise, I could see Army building with a few of these, and like maybe the Thunderbolt, and just really building up the Alpha Team Army. I like this. And here's what you got to consider on these figures. These figures, the 3 of these here, even though Dollar Tree has gone up the $1.25 for their products, each one of these from Greenbriar has excellent paint apps, different molded plastics. The toy feels durable, and it's $1.25 with tons of articulation. And to top it off, out of all that, you also have firing projectiles with spring-loaded mechanisms. And I know that these mechanisms, you know, they're a little sensitive. They, you know, those buttons are sensitive. They tend to pop off. But I gotta tell you, like, already just the fact that these fire projectiles, you get 2 projectiles, 1 for the big guy and then 2 for the others. You've got, you know, 3, 4, 5 points of articulation, and different molded plastics, paint applications, and these each one are $1.25 from Greenbriar. Greenbriar is really putting on the show for what can be done for toys right now. And their action figure line for Final Faction, not only is the cartoon pretty cool, but the story is really starting to pick up, and they're doing a comic book as well, which tells me that their hearts are really into this. And the other thing I love is that on the Final Faction page on Facebook, the actual designers and some of the creators are actually talking with the fans right now. And that's a big deal, because, you know, in a lot of these other toy companies and, you know, a lot of the toy creation stuff, they're not as active with their fans as Greenbriar and their creators of Final Faction have been, and that's a huge thing right now. Now, I found these at Dollar Tree, and you're only going to find them at Dollar Tree right now. I know Family Dollar does have some of the sets, but those are going to be the vehicle and figure sets, and it's not going to be these. The single carton ones are only found at Dollar Tree. Now, each Dollar Tree is going to have something a little bit different. The one I went to today didn't have these out, but the one I went to about a week ago had them out. So each store is going to have something a little bit different. So if you happen to go looking for these, good luck with the toy hunt. This episode of Tay-Ray-Gun was sponsored by Marvin Dog Media. To learn more about Marvin Dog Media, visit www.marvindogmedia.com. If you liked the video, be sure to hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below to let YouTube know that you like what I'm making. And be sure to hit that bell notification so you get updates to future content.